there is a rumor going on right now that we may be seeing level 100 characters coming to Genshin Impact in 5.0. It's a rumor. And this is going to be when Natlan drops. Now, it makes sense, since level 90 has always been a bit of a weird number to end on when it comes to character levels, so level 100 is a much more fuller, rounded number. And Natlan, of course, is the Nation of War, so this would be a pretty nice combat buff to give characters, especially those who are HP scaling and, I guess, people who do bloom reactions. On top of that, it would be interesting to have this happen alongside the introduction of particularly hard-hitting enemies, and I guess more local legends as well. That's my opinion anyway. But either way, because there is an idea that we're going to get level 100 enemies, it's entirely possible that we're also going to get additional talents, i.e. Ascension 7. And that's the entirety of this video. Should we get level 100 characters, I, for one, hope that Hoyoverse would add additional talents to at least spice things up for most of the characters. So I'm going to come up with a bunch of A7 talents for characters that already exist. For some characters, it was really difficult because they're either already pretty much perfect or, you know, I don't really play them. Ultimately, for the super duper meta characters, I feel like the A7 talent should be something rather minor, maybe a buff to their kit that doesn't necessarily do too much, or is at best like an exploration talent. And for the not so meta characters out there, it would probably be something that at the very least fixes a glaring part of their kit, or even better, actually is like a big ass damage buff of some description. So there's 85 characters, and I've already waffled on for a fair bit. Let's get into it. Albedo, the solar isotoma, which is part of his skill, is no longer destroyed. That's it. Should it deal more damage as well? You decide. With Alhaitham, I think his Chiseled Light Mirror stack should last longer. That way you have more time to play around with the triple Chiseled Light Mirror stack. It does effectively mean more damage per rotation, but okay, cool, whatever. With Aloy, this is very, very simple. Her coil stack gain cooldown, just straight up removed. On top of that, I think her Ice Rush should last longer. There we go. She doesn't necessarily need a DPS buff, but an Ice Rush duration buff I think would be very, very nice. With Amber, the main problem I have with her myself is trying to hit those damn Baron Bunnies at C2, so I think Baron Bunnies should explode on contact with Fiery Rain. That way she gets a much more reliable energy regeneration from herself. With Ito, I think each slash of his charge attack should increase his defense. Or maybe give him a 10% chance to not consume superlative super strength stacks, which of course will increase to 60% at C6 if you ever decide to get C6. But essentially have like a mini version of his C6 available, just so that for those of us who do decide to get him to A7, you get to sort of occasionally have fun not consuming stacks and basically charge attacking for longer. With Arlecchino, there's not really a whole lot that I think she needs. So I'm thinking either make her marks cook a little bit faster, or maybe when she's not in combat, the whole flying aspect of her charge attack doesn't use her stamina. That way you could just fly forever. That could be pretty cool. Oh hell, she's got wing. Not wings, but wing. With Baiju, again, I feel like he's absolutely perfectly fine. So at best, I could think of maybe his skill and burst reducing Dendro resistance by 10%, so having like a mini sort of Deepwood memory set on him already that kind of, I guess, already buffs the Deepwood memory set that he has. I don't really know. With Barbara, it was really difficult to come up with an idea for her as well, but I'm thinking maybe because her energy is always probably a problem most of the time, healing over time should generate 1 energy per second, or 1 energy particle per 5 seconds, I'm thinking, or something like that. With Beidou, I'm thinking holding her skill should eventually hit the full counter, and if you don't get hit, that way if you're just using her skill and the enemies for some reason don't decide to attack you all of a sudden, you can still do the full counter at the very end. Now with Bennett, after using Bennett's skill and after using Bennett's ult, he is instantly killed. Do you hear that? It's the sound of Bennett users finally having a reason to actually play Bennett. It's beautiful. It's perfect. With Candace, the damage bonus that comes from Candace's ult should also be applied to charged and plunge attacks. So when you hit Ascension 7, you kind of have that. Maybe a small increase to the damage bonus as well. maybe a duration increase to the ult, but that kind of already goes into, I believe it's C2 territory, so maybe not. But maybe having it applied to charge and plunge attacks so that you could also play Candace in other teams. With Charlotte, I'm just thinking a significantly faster charging up of her skill. Really, that's the only thing that's keeping me from playing her on a regular basis. With Chevy, I think the ultimate should get an HP scaling, so that way you can build full HP Chevy and still do pretty decent damage with her ult. There we go. With Chiori, I really have no idea. I'm thinking maybe 3 Tamators? With Chongyun, this was also really difficult to figure out. I had to actually confer with my Discord community. We ended up coming up with this idea. Characters in this field get a cryo damage bonus. I'm surprised he doesn't have one. With Collei, it's simple. I think the sprout from the Floral Sidewinder should last longer, and on top of that, it should have a larger range. With Senno, using his burst should reset his skill. If you're playing TF Senno, it kind of already happens anyway when you use his skill into burst. But yeah, and on top of that, I think using his skill should not interrupt his NA chain, which effectively gives him C6 to Luke. With the higher, Redmayne's blood should take on all forms of HP reduction, including things like Salon Solitaire and also damage to shields. That way shields become tankier if you bring the higher. With the Luke, after using his skill, if his next attack is also his skill, it happens a lot faster, and if his next attack is his final skill, it happens a lot faster, and the cooldown is reduced by 2 seconds. So if you go EEE, the cooldown is reduced to 2 seconds, and it happens a lot faster than it currently does. That way, you can do EEE into burst into, if you're playing C6, normal attack and skill chains. That way you can actually get Crimson Witch stacks pretty much right from the jump, which should be a nice DPS buff for the Luke, so that should be really, really good. Alright, with Diona, I'm thinking a charge attack damage bonus. That way her C4 finally makes sense. Or, I guess, otherwise, if her healing field expires, heals the team by 10% of her HP, which is kind of what C6 Chevreuse has. Give her a bit of team healing bonus, I guess. I don't know. With Dory, the Jinny regenerates energy for the entire team. I've done the math. A well-built Raiden Shogun should still provide the entire team with way more energy than Jinny, or Dory in this case. So yeah, you should be A-okay. This is not Raiden Shogun power creep. A still regenerates more energy if you build her well. With Eula, the Light Force Sword should charge up faster, but her ult lasts shorter. So essentially that would make it line up with buffs better. With Faruzan, I'm thinking she's got to get something energy related, surely. Using her skill maybe restores 1 energy for Faruzan per enemy hit. I don't know, something like that. Faruzan users, let me know what you think her A7 should be. With Fischl, I think Fischl should just be completely invulnerable during Midnight Phantasmagoria. It's shocking to me that she's not completely invulnerable during Midnight Phantasmagoria and you could actually die mid-ult. I find that to be completely stupid. With Fremine, I don't know, an attack speed bonus during his ult could be nice. With Farina, look, she's damn near perfect, so this is going to be a controversial take. I think the Singer of Many Seas healing should be increased by maybe 50%, but then on top of that, it heals the team at 50% strength. Let me know how you feel about that. 99% of the time, you're still not going to be using Singer of Many Seas anyway, so does this even matter? With Garming, I'm thinking double the Manchai during his ult. So we have one that attacks enemies and does a bit of damage, and then we have another one that runs straight back to Garming. Some have argued that maybe that's going to screw up melt setups. I can't really come up with an idea, another idea for Garming. I think he's absolutely perfectly fine otherwise. So let me know what you think in the comments below. With Ganyu, her charge attacks have got to charge up faster. Now, maybe not for all the damn time, but maybe if you use her ult, her charge attacks are a lot faster, which is kind of, I guess, how C4 Diona works. With Goro, his arrows should do AoE damage, and I'm mainly referring to being able to use his arrows for mining because they are geo arrows after all. With Hu Tao, become Arlecchino. Throughout her skill duration, she cannot be healed. This would unironically fix C6 Zhongli with her. With Jean, I'm thinking a stronger vacuum. Does this become Kaz power creep? You decide. But mainly so that you don't have to hold for a few seconds to suck in Aloy's bomblets. But if Aloy gets her A7 that I want her to get, then I guess this isn't really an issue either. With Kaz, I'm thinking the resulting wind tunnel from his skill should last longer. Because what the hell else does he need? With balls, i.e. Kaya, faster attack speed during her ult? I don't know. I don't play Kaya. I don't really know what he needs. Or if he needs anything. Let me know in the comments what you think Kaya needs. With Kamisato Ayaya, I'm just thinking her ult should reset her skill. That way you can skill into ult the skill. That should help with her energy regeneration at the very least. With Kamisato Ayato, I'm thinking his ult duration should increase, which I believe is not a thing in his kit at all. Plus, I think the normal attack damage bonus should be further increased based on his HP, because there's also another part of his kit that is randomly increased based on his HP for some reason. So maybe more HP scaling on his kit should be pretty nice. With Kave, I have absolutely no idea. So this is what I'm thinking. Maybe after being hit by a bloom explosion of some description, Kave gets a 40% damage reduction for 2 seconds. Let me know in the comments what you think Kave should get. With Kating, longer electro infusion. Let me know in the comments what you think Kating wants. With Kirara, I'm thinking the shield should gain an additional EM scaling in terms of how strong it is. And on top of that, I would say maybe the additional cooldown that you have from staying in her cat box form just simply gets removed. That way you can really just run around with Kirara as the cat. I think that's really, really hilarious, and I would like Hoyoverse to lean into that with her A7. With Claire, skill cooldown reduced because, let me remind you, there's 2 stacks of her skills, her Boom Boom Bakudan, and they're both 20 seconds cooldown. And also her ult should stick around if she leaves. Obviously, this is something that a lot of people have been asking since day one. Now with Sarah, okay, this is going to be a little bit drastic. Hear me out. We're going to lean into DPS Sarah. Sarah can now jump higher and glide with her actual wings. And then on top of that, when you use her ult, the interruption resistance is increased. Her interruption resistance is increased. And she can also use her charge attack while she's gliding in the air. And on top of that, her charge attacks will charge up faster. Flying DPS aggravates Sarah. Let's make that happen, Hoyoverse. Alright, with Layla, or rather with Shinobu, Shinobu's ult heals her by a small amount for every enemy hit. It's a small amount, okay? I know some people want to play Shinobu with her health as low as humanly possible, but at the same time, in my opinion, her ult is damn near useless in its current form. With Layla, okay, I think Layla is absolutely perfectly fine the way she is, but I guess if she's going to have an A7, enemies who are hit by shooting stars that will come from her ult, they basically do less damage. With Lisa, it's very simple. The Lantern gives Electro Res Shred. So on top of Defense Shred, we now also have Electro Res Shred. Boom, that's it. Lisa is the best waifu in the game. Hey guys, this is Kate the Editor. I also feel like Lisa's conductive stacks should increase the damage that Lisa does to enemies, considering that her charge attacks also give conductive stacks that you can give to enemies when your skill is on cooldown as well. Alright, Lynette. The entire idea is to be able to use her with Lenny. So, within 10 seconds of using her ult, when there are 2 or 3 or 4 party members with the same element type, think about how Lenny works, enemies hit will have their res shredded for the element most prevalent in the team, increasing based on the number of element types. So let's say, for example, you're playing Mono Pyro Lenny. There are 3 party members with the same elemental type, meaning Pyro Res will be shredded based on how many Pyro characters are in the team. In this case, there are 3, which means we're going to get the middle amount. And then I guess on top of that, you could play Lenny Mono... Oh, sorry, you could play Lynette Mono Animo and have a lot of Animo Res Shred. I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you feel about that. But finally, you can play Lenny and Lynette together, as they bloody well should be. But at the present moment, you can't. With Lenny, look, faster charge attacks, please. Maybe after using his skill, his charge attacks are charging up faster. Or maybe just the same thing as Ganyu. with his ult. I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you feel about that. With Mika, suppressive barrage should also affect cryo damage. That way, he'd be great with Aloy teams. Otherwise, look, he's perfectly fine otherwise. With Mona, I think Mona's ult should have some HP scaling. And the only reason why I say this is because I arrive at this as a medic Mona player, where HP is a thing for her because prototype Amber. With Nahida, look, any additional thing for A7 Nahida would just make her wildly overpowered, but okay, look, this is me trying to keep her as balanced as possible while still having the A7. Killing a target affected by the seed of Skarnhar drops a seed similar to a bloom seed. It kind of looks similar to a bloom seed anyway, on the ground for 2 seconds. If an enemy walks into it, they become affected by that seed of Skarnhar, and that seed of Skarnhar will stick around for the remaining duration of the original seed of Skarnhar. Does this make her too overpowered? The essential idea is to allow her to at least be better against wave content. With Nivalet, or rather with Nahida, with Navia, look, Geo Infusion duration is increased and also a stronger vacuum on her crystallized shards. Great. With Nivalet, he doesn't need anything. Let's be real here. But look, okay, the idea is skill generates +1 droplet, ult generates +2 droplets, therefore if you use a skill and ult, you get an additional Blight and Blast. Yay! This is going to be on top of C4, so if you have a C4 Nivalet, you have +2 Blight and Blasts. Alright, with Nilu, her ult hits one more time, and using her ult also resets her skill. That way you can also play Nilu in an international team, and also play on-field Nilu in international, which could be kind of hilarious. With Ningguang, her Jade Screen can no longer be destroyed except by her burst, and on top of that, maybe somehow removing the energy cooldown that she has, which is weird and stupid, and I hate it. With Noelle, look, Noelle is literally a perfect character, with the exception of maybe her energy regeneration. So I'm thinking throughout the duration of her shield, Noelle's normal attacks will give her 1 energy on a cooldown. And maybe if you use her ult, then she gets 2 energy instead, so something like that. With Chi-Chi, when the talisman hits an enemy, Chi-Chi gets some energy based on the cooldown. With A skill should get a damage bonus based on her ER. That way, it becomes a lot better in like aggravate teams because her skill already doesn't do that much damage, and things that don't do that much damage but tend to hit pretty often are fantastic in aggravate teams, or I guess quick bloom A teams. With Razor, I struggled to think of something, so I'm thinking maybe something to make Thundering Fury a little bit better. When using his ult, Razor gets an EM bonus. Yay! With Rosaria's ult should also give 20 crit damage. Is this overpowered? On top of the up to 15 crit rate that she gives? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, with Sangonomiya Kokomi, obviously using her skill during its duration will summon the jellyfish to Kokomi's side. Easy claps. With Sayu, I'm thinking the extra cooldown that you get from rolling around for longer gets removed, number 1, and on top of that, the kicks that she does should also get an EM scaling. That way you just go full into EM, and if you want to go EM Animo crit, that could be really nice as well. With Shenhe, okay, this is something from Gas Dehao. The quill, well, first off, from me, I think her quill counter needs to be increased by a pretty dramatic amount, number 1. But then number 2, Gas Dehao in particular wants her held skill to give her cryo infusion for a duration, and I'm surprised that's not really a thing. Of course, you could play Shenhe with Chongyun, and that basically does it, but I guess if you don't want to play Shenhe with Chongyun, she should be able to sort herself out at A7. There's an idea. So that way you can play DPS Shenhe. With Hazo, swirls that happen off-field should also increase the counter for his punch. With Sucrose, I'm thinking, look, honestly, I don't play Sucrose all that much because I think she's clunky as all hell. I'm thinking the skill should happen faster, and on top of that, a stronger suction. With Tortellini, cooldown increase should be reduced based on how long you use his Riptide. And on top of that, let's make his Riptide damage actually significantly increase. That way you can actually play him in teams that are not international. and he should be perfectly fine. With Toma, I think his shields made from his skill should also trigger fiery collapses, but once every 2 seconds. Currently, when you use his shield from his ult, it triggers fiery collapse once every 1 second, so that's the context there. Half as many pyro hits if you just use his shield, but it does make him slightly less ult dependent, so that should be really, really nice. With Tignari, he's already perfectly fantastic the way he is, but I guess +1 fast firing charge attack when you use his skill. With Wendy, charge attacks do more damage against enemies inside his vortex. So maybe leaning more back into the old DPS Venti days. Let me know in the comments what you think Venti should get. With Scaramuccio, when out of combat, his skill should not consume Korogyuku points. That's it. It's an exploration talent. Does he need anything else? Probably not. He's pretty damn strong the way he is. With Risley, I think it's pretty obvious. His Gracious Rebuke cooldown is reduced. That way, you should be able to have not necessarily HP positive, but at least almost HP neutral combos. Yay! Okay, with Oppa, what the hell does she need? Honestly, I think she could use a bit of an energy buff. So, when Guoba hits an enemy, Xiangling gets an energy. There we go, like 1 energy every time Guoba hits an enemy. And it could be maybe per enemy as well. So you could maybe lean into the idea of strategic Guoba placement. Alright, with the bird, Shen Yun, when you're not in the combat, if Drift Cloud Wave is not used, the cooldown of a skill is reduced to 1 second when not in combat. Because honestly, I think otherwise Shen Yun is absolutely perfectly fine the way she is. With Xiao, when Xiao's ult is used, he recovers from plunge attacks faster. That way you don't have to do normal attack cancels, you can do sprint cancels, which in my opinion, it feels a lot better. And that way he can be doing sprint cancel plunges, much the same way that you can do that with Claymore characters. With Xingqiu, when Xingqiu's Rain Swords shatter, they heal the entire team. Listen, it's still an incredibly minor bit of healing, but hey, let's just make it heal the entire party. He doesn't need anything else, really. Come on, let's be real here. With Xinyan, the damage that comes from her ult and also the radiation of her shields gets an additional defense scaling. There we go. With Miko, using her ult refreshes the duration of her turrets. Look, Miko doesn't actually need anything, and she certainly doesn't need this either. Using her ult right near the end of the turret duration and then going right here, right now, emerge is absolutely perfectly fine. But I guess for those who've, for some reason, still cringe at the idea of using right here, right now, emerge, yeah, okay, fine. Drop the ult, move on. Drop the ult, move on. Hell, it might even reach a point where Miko's gameplay ends up being like right here, right now, emerge, and then just strategic uses of her ult at certain intervals and never having to use her skill again. With Hee-chan, using her charge attack will give Yanfei some energy based on the level of her charge attack, because oh my god, she needs energy so much. So that would really, really help with her energy requirements, which are, in my opinion, her biggest weakness. With Yao Yao, look, Yao Yao is absolutely perfectly fine the way she is. I guess maybe the duration of Yugui is increased to match its cooldown. That's basically it. With Yelan, same idea. I mean, I think Yelan is absolutely perfectly fine the way she is. Maybe an increase to her ult duration to match its cooldown. With Yoimiya, obviously she gets interruption resistance. Boom! There it is. That could be a fantastic A7 for her. With Yunjin, my main issue with Yunjin is her energy. When characters are under the effect of her ult, hit enemies with a normal attack, Yunjin gets some energy. No cooldown. Charge up Yunjin, let her fly. Let's go. And then finally with Big Dick Zhongli, it's the same idea with Ningguang. His pillar does not get destroyed. That way you can get more tenacity of the Millilith procs. So yeah, that's what I reckon should be the A7 passives for these characters if they do end up getting A7 passives. And oh my god, I hope they do get A7 passives if they do end up getting level 100. Obviously, some of these ideas are really scraping the bottom of the barrel because what the hell do we want for someone like Kave? I have no idea. So that's what I could think of. Yeah, hopefully we do see an A7 passive coming to Natlan, which of course will be changing up the meta probably slightly at the very least, or in Bennett's case, actually changing up the meta so that he's actually useful for a change. And of course, if they do come up with A7 passives, I will be looking forward to seeing what Aloy and Lisa's are going to be in particular. Let me just leave all of this in the comments below. How do you feel about these A7 passives? And obviously, what A7 passives do you want? Let me know in the comments, which of course is something that I've been asking throughout the entire video. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Genshin Impact action. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Your sins weigh upon your soul. You stand condemned.
Sometimes only the beginning.
Shit.